Happy Friday. It's week 26. Woodland Chronicles. And I'm out walking. I think I've pretty much got myself nailed down for this now for the year, the walks and talks. It's a good excuse to go out and get mobile, get some exercise. And it's funny enough, it was I've been kind of revisiting like the beginning of my working Ascension timeline quite a lot recently. Back in the days when I first began, because I'm seeing and having the gorgeous opportunity to be assisting with people with their current stepping up process. And of course, immediately when I'm doing that, when I'm kind of like guiding from my own pool of experience, I can only use what I have. And so my pathway, as you are listening to it now, kind of began in 2013, August 2013, after years of preparation and not really knowing what was coming up, especially, you know, with what we've been through, what we've seen and what we've experienced. I mean, which one of us 10 years ago would have been able to predict the turn of events that we have seen and we have experienced? So waking up now and stepping up is a very different kettle of fish, and in some ways it's a lot there's always pros and cons. When I first started getting my work out there in 2013, there was very little social media in comparison to the way that things are now, and there were only very selective and quite insular clusters of light workers that were prominently working around the world. All in all, we pretty much kept ourselves to ourselves, apart from on the weekends when we all get together. Life was as it used to be. Now things are very different. It's almost like a public domain where everything that you do is presented via Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. And so it's not necessarily quite so comfortable to get yourself out there, because there's a lot of souls stepping up at the moment. And one of the biggest tests that we'll always receive on this pathway is the test of authenticity. You know, people wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, to bring those gifts through. But are they in alignment? Are they authentic? Do they resonate with the qualities of truth and grace that is required of us now? And that brings me very much onto what I want to talk about today. And it's a little bit more of a personal reflection. Like I was saying, been having these kind of reflective moments, looking at where I've been, how I've done it, the people that I've met on the way, the tests that I've received and the initiations, how I've learnt, when I've learnt, why I've learnt. And we're all the same in that respect. We all share this human aspect of ourselves, the soul personality that you are, and the soul personality that you are listening to, which happens to be me. And one of the biggest things that I'm personally experiencing at the moment, and I know it's the same for lots of you out there, is the physical initiations. And by physical I mean the version of events that we experience when we claim a high frequency. But when we claim a high frequency, when we say to the universe, I am going to stand in the light, I am going to embody the principles of ascension and move into a higher role, and immediately we are expected to then reflect that in the way that we live, the way that we speak, the things that we embark upon, what we put in our bodies, how we act on a day-to-day basis, on a minute-to-minute. And this, for me, has been one of the most challenging, because being human is an art form. I've found to be a human soul on this planet at this time, and to shape what we're doing, the ascension process, to step out of our previous programming, the ways that we've pretty in so much of the descriptions of being trapped within the matrix, caught up in the kind of the depths of the illusions and the way that we have sometimes been taught to treat ourselves. Reclaiming the 5D aspects, becoming heart-centered and aligned with your physical self is a huge challenge. And one of the reasons for this is because our bodies are having to get used to the vast quantities of light that we are now receiving. So when you sit down, when you do a meditation, when you call in the angels, the ascended masters, the dragons, the unicorns, the higher galactics, whoever it is that you're working with, and you focus on changing your frequency, you are raising your light levels. This is absolute, this is the basics. The second you draw that energy into you, you connect to, say, Serapis Bey, or you work with Yeshua or Archangel Shamuel, the second you even say the words or mention their names, you are connecting to an aspect of them which changes your frequency. And if you do this on a regular basis, you are perpetually in a state where you are pushing the boundaries of your light. I find that we're a driven lot. We are constantly striving to be steps ahead of ourselves, and in the process of doing so, our physical bodies, this precious unit that we have been given to look after, to nurture, to embody fully, has become very pushed. So physical initiations are something that we are most likely to experience, especially in windows of energy such as now. So say, for the sake of example, we have just moved through the solstice gateway. We're summer in the north, winter in the south. You probably attended more than one event. Might have been online, it might have been a physical gathering, it might have been done in the privacy of your own home or with a group of people that you were close to. Whatever you did, you anchored the light in. Okay, you anchored the light in a major way. You would have become, and perhaps your crystal companion would have become, the focal point for the higher consciousness and the pillars of light, the new codings and everything else to link into this planet and to become part of the new higher matrix. So you will have automatically put yourself in a state where you are having to improve. You are expanding where you were and what you were previously into a new higher form. And how does that feel? It does kind of get to a stage where it becomes the norm, so to speak, where doing this on a regular basis becomes something which is almost like a paced event. We're constantly doing it, we're constantly striving. The moving forward never stops. And in the process of doing so, we go through physical initiations in order to become the light, to become this higher version of ourselves. We have to step into alignment. So one of my greatest tests, and I'm going to talk about it from my perspective this morning, because my entire year so far has been one physical initiation after another, and it was predicted to me at the beginning of the year by the lovely Pam Gregory, who was saying this is the way that things are looking for you at this particular time, and so it was. Now, if you are pushing the light constantly, or pushing yourself to keep up with the light, you will be called into a state where you have to walk your talk. There's no two ways about it. So every single little thing that you do has to adjust so that you are honouring your pathway. That means the food that you eat, the words that you speak, the thoughts that you think, the actions that you take, everything about you has to change in order to honour the quantity of light that you are embodying and the mission that you have said yes to, and all of the other stuff. So in many cases, physical symptoms arise from this, and many of us, if not all of us, are now familiar with the term Ascension symptoms, you know, and it's almost become a bit of a cliche now, where, you know, if we're tired, Ascension symptoms. If we don't want to get out of bed in the morning, it's yesterday's download. And we're now living with this as in a state of normality, where we most often will put an outside or an exterior situation to basically excuse how we are feeling. I know it's very, very easy to do, but one of the most important aspects of this pathway is taking responsibility for ourselves. What lessons have we chosen? What contracts have we signed? It's becoming more and more important, I think, to know what we've agreed to do. So when we upgrade, when we say yes to the next stage of the mission, what is it we're actually saying yes to? Because as I've said before about soul contracting, there will always be 10 big fixed points that you agree to, and there will be there'll be page after page of kind of subtext or other little points that you've agreed to, and these are the ones quite often that are the ones that maybe we need to be looking at. You know, the people that we've agreed to interact with, the ones that we're having specific lessons with at the time. So I've had to really look at how I drive and And many of you will be able to identify with this. Not when I say drive, I don't mean drive a car, I mean drive myself. I've always been a very driven person. I've been driven in my sport, I've been driven in my Ascension work, I've been driven in every single thing that I do. And so big waves of energy move through me, and I create, and I exceed my creative potential, and then I have to stop because I crash. So what's the balance with this? Do you also find that you do this? It's almost like riding the peaks and the troughs. And so for the next 6 months, I've ironed out kind of a pathway for myself where I'm going to be looking at really honouring what my body is asking me to do. And I know I talk about this a lot because I've done other videos reflecting on lessons that we've all learned with, especially with illness, physical illness, and things that happen to the body. So when we receive all of this light, when we take the light in, when it's absorbed into the cells of our body, when we expand our spiritual fields, anything that is not of the light, and that includes patterns of thought, habits, things that we put in our body, any of that will be alchemized, and it'll either be alchemized physically or it will be alchemized energetically. So if you're feeling a little bit weary or maybe downtrodden after the solstice gateway, that is perfectly normal. That is something that all of us will be experiencing on some level. And you may also be feeling that time is moving slower as a result of this. We are all going to have to learn how to live in this physical body, but at a higher frequency. And that might not necessarily be something that is necessarily comfortable for every single one of us, because we have got used to our habits, we've got used to our comforts, we've got used to the way of being. So my continuous drive needs to be leveled out. It needs to be done in a way, please don't bite my finger. We're watching a mosquito settle on my finger that I'm holding the selfie stick with. So that particular drive that I have is going, I'm aiming to level it out, and that's my physical dedication to myself. And that's not just within my work, that's within the sport, my chosen and beloved sport of kickboxing and running. I need to find some balance with that as well. And I think every single one of us will be feeling very much like that at the moment, that we need some equilibrium, we need some balance, and that in many cases the energies, the waves that we ride, when they're kind of moving up and we've got all of this, we've got an abundance of energy and everything feels wonderful, and then on the downturn there's this immediate kind of crash where we feel like we have to spend ages recovering, or we have to withdraw from what we do, maybe unable to open messages or answer emails. What we're looking for is a point of equilibrium. And the fifth dimension, in my view, or my humble viewpoint, is about balance, okay? So we're aiming for a heart-centered world that's full of physical balance. If you imagine the heart as a plateau of light that you can stand upon, receiving the energies, interacting with the world, there will no longer be the huge waves and crashes that we experience, or we have experienced in 3D, and certainly moving out of 3D into 4D, into the speeding up, the kind of the very tumultuous energy that we've been experiencing. So if what I'm talking about this morning is resonating with you, if you've kind of crawled out the other side of the solstice gateway and there's things that are occurring to you physically, don't take it personally. It is your body calling for you to make the changes or to take the rest, do the things for yourself that you really need to do. And what's so beautiful is that so many other souls are recognising this now, the need for self-love. And eventually that's what it all boils down to. It's all about self-love. How much do you love and respect yourself in relation to the goals and the targets and the everyday pressures of your life? What do you put first? Who comes first? Those around you, the needs, the wants, the requirements, or is it that inner child that resides within you that needs love, care and attention? So for me, it's been a big period of reflection as my body has thrown things into my mixture that has forced me to stop and to slow down, to reevaluate, and to certainly change some personal habits of mine that have not been serving me. But the thing is, as we move into this higher frequency energy, as we become more aware of ourselves, habits and thoughts and practices and ways of thinking that we didn't even know existed are coming to the fore. And so for some of us, this might be quite a surprise because we've already done so much work. We've already grafted, either consciously or unconsciously, continuously to get to this point now. And all of a sudden, there's a new textbook open and it's full of stuff that we've got to do. It's full of work. But that's our job, so we're going to get on with it. But from a point of love and self-compassion. And that's very much going to be the theme as we move into the Lion's Gate. We've now, today is it's the last day of June. Tomorrow is the first day of July. And boy, is this year moving quickly. So my lovelies, on that note, I am going to continue my walk and wishing you all so much love from my heart to yours. And I'll be back on Monday with another meditation. Lots of love. Bye for now.